Hello, everyone, and welcome to Tarnished Bronze. We've got something a bit different for you today, a comic haul. This is from Clairemont Comics in Wisconsin, and you're able to fill a short box there for a pretty reasonable price. So I thought I would go over what I found or some of what I picked up. We won't go through everything, and then that will give you some teasers and some hints as to what you can expect on the channel in the future. And if there's something that maybe you don't think that Patrick and I would cover, let us know in the comments that you might want me to do a little review of this. So without further ado, I'm very pleased to show the fact that I've picked up the first batch of Nexus issues from Steve the Dude Rude that are all in color. And so these are from both Capital Comics, the first few issues here, and then also going into First Comics. So First Comics is another one of these 80s independent publishers. There's a whole bunch of these here. I'm really looking forward to going through these because I've got some of the Steve the Dude Rude Kickstarters before in the oversized formats. You might have seen on a few videos that I do like the larger format stuff. But haven't really gotten into Nexus yet. This is the Mike Baron, Steve Rude era. So I'm looking forward to looking through these. Definitely that first Capital Comics one will be on there. Going into the first comics series. There's a few things that I kind of like from that first and Kamiko sort of era. So there's some American Flag, Elementals, which I haven't read all of that yet. So think of this as delving into some side stories of the Bronze Age. So we've got a big boatload of Nexus there to read, which is really fun. The second sort of little thing I got was I'd overlooked a lot of this before, so I'm reading these Jim Starlin Batman issues for the first time, and I'm into now the Dumpster Killer era. So just getting into that. That's also the Night of the Demon era. So it's Jim Starlin and mostly Jim Aparo. So you can expect some of that on the channel, as well as picking up the sequel to Knights of the Beast, the NKV Demon. And so these three here have Brian Bolland covers, really just fantastic covers there. I have these in Australia, but they're obviously too far to make the journey, so I thought I'd pick those up. You can probably expect these on the channel at some point, but whether I do them just myself or with Patrick, I'm not quite sure, just because we all know that he really dislikes Batman. What's the other thing? The other thing that I got was a bit of a blind spot. So this is Eric Larson and Kurt Busiek, and I love Astro City, and I love Eric Larson. I actually got Patrick into Astro City, so maybe we'll do some of those Astro City trade paperbacks for you guys soon. But I got the Defenders, which was definitely a blind spot. Picked up a few random issues. I don't have 1 and 2 and the last couple, so I'm gonna sort of fill those out as I go, and then I might do that on the Eric's Uber side column, or if Patrick already has them, we might do it for the channel. So that was kind of fun. Everyone knows that right now we're on a bit of a Legion kick. Legion was a blind spot for me for the longest time, and I thought I'd just start from the Keith Giffen issues. So I managed to pick up some pre-Giffen issues, not super early, but pretty early. A lot of these have some art with Steve Ditko. So they're all like the late 70s stuff. Nothing sort of Stalin or Grell, I don't think, but I'm kind of looking forward to getting into that, reading some of the older stuff and not trying to keep the continuity so straight ahead as I do my big read through. So expect some Legion, some 5 years later. Patrick and I are going to go in depth into that, but I think we might also dip in and out into some of the more fun aspects of Legion as well, especially maybe those Ditko issues if they turn out to be ended. So additionally, I'm trying to fill in my blanks between the sort of classic X-Men kind of up to issue 281 or so whenever Clairemont left, and 345 or 46 or 47 whenever I started as a kid. And so I think one of the guys from Cartoonist Kayfabe calls that the methadone era of the X-Men. So I picked up some fantastic John Romita Jr. I think that's about 301 through to 310 or 12. So John Romita comes on board again, or John Romita Jr. rather comes on board again for a little while. So looking forward to getting into that because I've sort of got the lead up now. So we'd be well into the drug withdrawal stage there. And also some of those early on Joe Mad issues that I was kind of missing. So once again, really pleased that they had a tranche of them just to kind of pick up. So I think that's when Generation X and stuff was going gangbusters. And I really love Generation X. So I kind of like that era, which is immediately prior to where I entered as far as some of the X-Men issues. But like I said, not sure that necessarily they're good, but I have them now and maybe we'll cover some of them down the line. Just in my own sort of private time, I'm also sort of reading the Hulk from Bill Mantlow's run. I might have told you guys before, Bill Mantlo is really hit and miss. He's either amazing or abysmal. So I've gotten into these Hulk issues, and some of them are good, some of them are not so good, but they all go at a pretty good clip. So it's not like if one of them is bad, then you'll get 3 or 4 bad ones in a row. So I have this whole fist. If Clint Eastwood is in a fistful of dollars, I've got a fistful of Hulk. So we've got some classic early 1980s, late 1970s Hulk here, mostly from the early 80s. The 70s stuff I'm not quite as into. So this is Bill Mantlo and mostly Sal Buscema and John Buscema with some, I think Al Milgrom does a lot of these covers. And yeah, Al Milgrom and Rick Buckler do a lot of the covers. Yeah, the assistant editor week, all that good stuff from the early 1980s. Just kind of getting through it all. So yeah, lots of this Mantlo Hulk, which is the sort of run prior to John Byrne taking over for maybe 5 or 6 issues. And then it's obviously the Peter David run, which I also managed. So I also managed to get a bunch of the mid-level Peter David Hulk. So this is a Dale Keown one. So I'm missing a lot of those middle ones, like towards the end of McFarlane and the start of I think Dale Keown, who I like the Pit. So this is going to be massively in the future for me to read, but nonetheless we'll get there one day. And they also had pretty much the entirety of the rebooted Peter David Hulk. So I'm not going to get in too many. Well, I am getting too many Hulk issues, but I'm not going to get too many Hulk creators. I thought I'd get the old stuff, get the Peter David stuff, including the Peter David sort of tail end Maestro and the end and so on and so forth. And I think I've got some Mark Silvestri, John Romita Jr. Hulk too that maybe I'll dust off later. But if you're interested in that, send a comment. Let me know that this is what you want us to talk about. We've also got a couple of different things as well. So one of the things that we may get to down the line on the channel is going through John Byrne's Namor run. Now, at the end of his run, the pencils are done by Jay Lee. So I picked up the end of that sort of core canonical John Byrne Namor run. Now, Byrne does the art, I think, for the first 2 years, and then Jay Lee takes over, and then it just becomes like it just looks more and more nuts as it kind of goes. So you can really see here lots of just cool art, Jay Lee. So let's see how that kind of pans out towards the end. Hopefully, Patrick and I might do that together at some point. So there's Namor. I'm on a bit of a Hawkman kick. I highly recommend the original Hawk World miniseries by Tim Truman. The Hawk World sort of saga keeps on going on, so I keep picking up issues as I find them in order. And yeah, can't recommend that. Hawk World 1988, I think, or 89 miniseries or prestige miniseries, as it might have been called, highly enough. Just fantastic SF stuff. Really, really good. And I also managed to pick up some Chris Picciolo or Chris Buccolo. I call him Chris Picciolo. But I'm going to send some of these Shade issues to Patrick. So Shade is one of my favorite series. It's probably a blind spot for Patrick. The first 18 issues or so, I think we might end up covering here. But just, Chris Picciolo is kind of a revelation. And Pete Milligan is one of those sort of not the Grant Morrisons, the Alan Moores, and the J.M. Straczynski kind of people. He's just below that level of kind of notoriety, but he's probably at or above them in the level of quality. So Pete Milligan, especially if you like that X-Force series or the X-Statics, actually might get X-Statics on the line too. Love some of my Allred stuff. So got that, as well as I have it in a collection, but obviously not in the United States. So just picked up Phantom X is one of my favorites, and this is the Phantom X kind of saga from Grant Morrison and Chris Picciolo. So had to do that one. So like I said, if you like the look of any of that, especially the Nexus stuff, give us a comment, and we might get some of those episodes to you guys sooner than what you might think. So that's all for now from Tarnished Bronze.